Welcome to Sports Geek Q&A. Here's your host, Sean Callanan.
Yes, I'm Sean Callanan from Sports Geek, and you're listening to Sports Geek Q&A. Remember, you can send in your questions these ways, sportsgeekhq.com/questions. You can send me a message via Twitter, either on public stream, or you can slide into my DMs at Sean Callanan on Twitter. You can reach me on Facebook. Sean Callanan Speaks is my Facebook page, or Sports Geek. You can send a message there, or you can even send me a message on Instagram. I'm trying to up my Instagram game at Sean Callanan, or send me an email, sean@sportsgeekhq.com, or if you're in the Sports Geek Nation Slack, send me a message at Sean Callanan. Any of those methods will work, or if you see me in real life, ask me a question. I will still answer it. I'll answer it in real life, but I also would like to answer it on this podcast. With your questions. So thank you very much. Don't forget, you can support our podcasting and newsletter efforts via Patreon. Just simply go to sportsgeekhq.com/Patreon. Thank you very much to the people who have supported and who are subscribers to our Patreon campaign. And thank you as well to the supporters who are in the sports technology and marketing space. You can find all of their logos and links to their website at the end of every single Sports Geek podcast and Sports Geek Q&A episode. This question came from Matt, a friend of mine. We were having coffee. This is an in real life question. And he asked me, how do I split my time between podcasting, Sports Geek and Esports with Gravitas, my League of Legends team? It's a good question. It's a question I've been asked in real life a lot over the last 12 months. I'll answer it in two parts. It has changed over the past 12 to 18 months. So if you have been listening to the podcast, you know I now own a League of Legends team, Gravitas. We secured the rights to that in November 2018. And to be honest, 2019, a lot of 2019 was a lot of esports. Starting an esports team from scratch with a really small team is really hard. And so 2019, a lot of time was spent in the operations side of the esports business, in helping the league align its digital strategy, in wrangling players from an esports point of view, producing content for the team, to helping negotiate team agreements with the league. So there was a lot of things being done in the space on the esports side of the business, as well as having to educate, I feel like, an entire market and agencies about what opportunities exist in esports. As a result, Sports Geek as a business, and from a consulting point of view and client work and project work, probably suffered. And it probably suffered mainly because I wasn't doing business development and reaching out and talking to people and finding how we could help. And then podcasting is the piece that's just left in between. Podcasting always finds the gap to be done. And so I was pretty pleased over the last 12 months, 2 years, to be getting pretty consistent in the podcasting space. Really thankful for having a trusty podcast editor in James, and the workflow that we've got around producing the podcast on a weekly basis. I probably spend 1 to 2 hours a week on the podcast, whether either in interviews or in sections like this where I'm doing intros and outros and Q&A episodes. So it's not a full-time gig, but there is a lot of managing of booking interviews and those kind of things that needs to happen. But I've really got it down to a bit of a fine art of hopefully keeping it to 2 to 3 hours a week. So that was probably last year, if I had answered that question last year, Matt. This year, or probably from about September onwards, I sort of felt that we've got a good grasp of the systems and operations around Gravitas and what needs to happen. And I started putting more effort into the Sports Geek side of the business, as a business, which meant more meetings and coffees and catching up with people and finding out what problems exist. Funnily enough, a lot of the problems that exist haven't changed. People wanting to understand how they value their assets, improve what they're doing in the content space. Cheeks in the seats are still an issue. Helping commercial folk better understand how they value digital and how they pitch digital. So probably 75% of my time in 2020, and it's probably something I want to maintain, will be on Sports Geek work and Sports Geek business and Sports Geek media efforts. and then 25% of my time on esports. I've been able to build out most of the systems around what needs to happen from a Gravitas point of view, with the support that I have from Fawn, who drives things operationally for SG Esports and works on some of the esports projects, and Calvin and Leonard, who are the coaching team, are doing a good job managing what is a lot wider roster. So that's the long answer of how I split my time. It has changed. It keeps changing. Clients keep moving to the front of the queue, which is good, because they enable me to do what I'm able to do and give me the opportunity to work on projects like Gravitas. So that's sort of how I split my time. I'm not podcasting all the time, for those of you who are listening thinking that's what I'm doing all the time. And I'm not doing esports all the time, but I probably was last year. So definitely open for business. It might have seemed like I wasn't last year, but definitely open for business and looking forward to working with more Sports Geek podcast listeners in 2020. Question 2 comes from Tim Baker from Adelaide United. I'm going to give the short version of your question, then I'm going to read exactly what he sent in. His short version of the question is, will social comments be eventually turned off? He writes, "Hi Sean, I'm going to be cheeky here and ask a two-parter. I love the restrict comment and restrict account option on Instagram. I think it's a great way to curb bullying and abuse and outright misguided rage on social media. Do you think this will eventually make its way to Facebook, and could we see Twitter finally employing something like this? Secondary to this, do you see a future where Facebook comments are turned off and we're given the option, as all of these actions are becoming two things: shit posting and put downs in an attempt to get laugh reacts and confirmation bias, or straight up arguments and rage? Love the long form show and love the Q&As, particularly the bite-sized nature of them." Tim, thank you very much, Tim. Appreciate the message. No problems with the two-parter. I do think we will see further restrictions on comment ability. Like you said, it's already available in Instagram. Facebook does have the ability to turn comments off and restrict comments, and we're also seeing Twitter having the feature to now restrict replies or restrict views of replies if it gets a bit out of hand on a reply. Unfortunately, that's sort of the world we live in. There will be people that want to have their say and get their 15 seconds of fame on someone else's post. It does make it tough, because I do think there is a lot of good in those comments, and there is some value in tearing down the trolls. I did see the AFL doing that a little bit on posts when they announced some content for the AFLW, and they went in and defended AFLW, which they rightly should. I do like the idea of developing your own digital cheer squad, and I still hold hope for our society that fans overall will rally and the goodness will be able to be shown through. But unfortunately, the internet leans a little bit darker. But I don't think you should stop in amplifying the good in the world, and also amplifying the people who do good in your fan base. So I think things like top fans that Facebook has and those kind of things are probably leading to a point where you have to be a top fan to be able to comment, or you are only top fans to be commenting that kind of thing, and some sort of social currency on good behaviour. Twitch has something similar in, only allowing certain followers to follow, and auto moderation and those kind of things. I'd much rather we solve it ourselves than leave it to the algorithms. But one of the ways is just to be broadcast. And I think it would be sad if we turned off all commenting, because then social media wouldn't be social media; it would be broadcast media, and we'll be back to square with vision, talking to people, which is what the TV has been for many, many years. So hopefully we can amplify and encourage the best of us. And I'm always going to be a glass half full. I hope for humanity. Question 3 comes from Doug Mann, apologies, Doug. Doug Mann from the VRC, who asked, what are your top measures of success for a digital marketing campaign, and why? Thank you very much, Doug. It's a good question. It's a very open question. It's a question you can always answer with a question. And I'm going to answer it with a question. It all comes down to, what are your goals? What do you want out of the digital marketing campaign? I think if I'm looking specifically at some of the, campaign objectives that say Facebook offers, I would definitely lean towards ones that generate a result for you or in your efforts. So I always lean towards, if I want ticket sales, I want web conversions, and I want to be able to track that web conversion all the way through to sale. I want to see how much it costs me to sell a ticket, and then find out what I'm comfortable with in selling a ticket or a membership. If I'm selling a $500 membership, am I happy to spend $20 to get that $500? Damn right I am. But I can only do that with a web conversion. Do I want to grow an audience? Do I want to deepen engagement with an audience? Then I would look at things like post engagement, those kind of opportunities. The other ones, if you want to get more people watching your video, I would use video views. Most of them are straightforward. Some of the ones I definitely steer clear of, and Facebook keeps pushing. And I think it is the go-to move for potentially PR firms that are pushing social ads is brand awareness and reach. I think they are the most useless digital campaign objectives that are available. They are effectively just saying, hey, do I want to impress my client with big numbers? Oh, look, 40,000 people saw it, which is effectively the same as, well, you may as well go buy a bus ad, which can be very effective on the appropriate route and those kind of things. But it's the opposite of what digital offers. Digital offers ability to track and have, KPIs measured. So for mine, if it's ticketing, and if it's a cheeks in the seats type of thing, it's definitely conversions and finding out the dollar number is absolutely important. But if I am looking for an audience to be engaged, then I would be looking at post engagement or video views, that kind of thing, because then I can go back and say, here's how many people engaged with this post, or here's how many people engaged with this this campaign. And then on the video side, I can actually go back and say, this is how many people saw 10 seconds, 75% of the video, those kind of things. Gives you something definitive. Thank you very much, Doug Mann from BRC. Thank you very much for the questions. Thanks, Matt, Tim, Doug. Remember, you can send in your questions on my social channels, or you can email them in, sean@sportsgeekhq.com. I'd love your support on Patreon. You can go to sportsgeekhq.com/Patreon to pledge your monthly support. Until next episode, my name is Sean Callanan, and you've been listening to Sports Geek.
You can reach Sean Callanan via email at sean@sportsgeekhq.com. Find out more about Sports Geek's Digital to Dollars process at digitaltodollars.com. Go to sportsgeekhq.com for more sports digital marketing resources.